Saga Primigenia, Chapter 3. Kin, the night before. Despite his bruises, Kin's heart lightened as the families returned home. Darkness was falling fast thanks to the forest all around them. The entire village had turned out to wish them well in their ordeal. His heart swelled so much he was afraid it might burst, though he could admit to himself that this was also thanks to Nami's hand wrapped in his as they went. Their fathers talked in low voices as they walked. He spotted his mother, Sylvia, and Nami's mother, Aryu, carrying Kisa and Kita. The twins had fallen asleep during the match. They emerged into the clearing only to find another surprise waiting for them. Sitting on the steps to the Foregwood home was none other than Nami's older brother, Tyrant. Built like a blacksmith with red eyes, his ashy hair past his shoulders. Usually, Tyrant had a very pronounced forehead. He beamed and rose from his seat, arms wide in greeting. "Welcome home," he said to the party at large. Master pulled his middle child into a hug. Kin grinned as Nami rushed forward to be next to cuddle her brother. Nami's mother then walked up and joined in. He had not seen Taran for almost a year now. He had been training in Rootford as an armorer, a skill neither Heath nor Alistair could teach him. Crimsonians generally preferred light armor made from leather rather than heavy armor. He chuckled to himself, trying to imagine walking to his and Nami's clearing in a suit of armor. After his family had moved out of the way, Ken strolled towards him with a lazy wave. Taran looked at him with an appraising look. My, could this be Ken? You look stronger than when we last met." "Believe it," Ken smirked, and the two men grasped arms. "Welcome home, Taran." "Glad to be home, little brother-to-be," the older smith chuckled as Ken blushed. From the corner of his eye, he could see Nami put her hands on her hips as she glared at her brother. Ken then noticed that their father shared a look and a firm nod. "Ken, Nami," Master began, "we have something important to tell you both before you leave in the morning." His father had a serious look as he took over. His face, usually so full of joy, seemed wrong in this form. His heart beat faster from anxiety. "It would not be a stretch to say your journey hinges on this information." A sense of foreboding washed over Ken as at the words of his father and mentor. His mother shook her head. "Not yet, dear. Let's do presents first, before we get into that unpleasant business. You go and sit down while we bring some warm cider and fetch them." Master and his father agreed to this, which didn't surprise Ken. He felt a twinge of annoyance at the delay. The suspense was killing him. Their mothers and Gami went off to fetch the items. They headed over to the table set up in the center of the inner yard of the smithy. Taran was quick to follow them, having taken Kisa and Kita, who were still asleep from the women. Their fathers were the last to join them. He watched them approach, once more in deep council with each other. Nothing unusual for them, though. As he pondered what they wanted to discuss, Nami leaned in and whispered into his ear. Her breath was warm and delightful on his flesh. "You know, we take after our fathers." "You think so?" Ken asked in surprise. "I mean, I'm a swordsmith like Dad is, but I don't look like him enough to say I take after him." He didn't need to see Nami's face to feel her coy smile. She replied, "No, I mean how close we are. They've always been together like we have been since we were kids." Nami was right. Ken himself had noticed their fathers had always done everything together, too. They opened a smithy together. They bonded. Their bond mirrored the one they shared. Their bond mirrored the one their fathers had. "You're right. Of course I am," she teased. He looked into her blue eyes and began to get lost in their depths. "I know you better than anyone, Ken. Your strengths and your weaknesses, as I know you put up with my perfectionism and my uncontrollable vice." Taran interrupted bluntly. "How long are you two going to be in your little world?" Ken jumped away from Nami, and she did the same. His face heated, even in the cool evening air. There was a chortle from their fathers. Nami stuck out her tongue at them, and then her expression turned somber as she remarked, "I wish Ryan were here tonight." Her words sobered the mood up a little. Ryan hadn't been home in 3 years. He hugged his partner, running his hands through her soft hair to calm her down. Ken nodded in agreement. "He's a lot of fun. He was the one with the best jokes." His father put on a mock frown. "Are you saying my jokes are not funny, son?" "Yes, father." He smirked at that. "I ran out of new material ages ago." Master muttered in a stage whisper they could all hear. "You ran out way before that, old friend." This earned him a mock look of shock as Heath touched his heart, feigning pain. My best friend and my son turned against me. My daughters are asleep at the table, only my wife left at my side. His mother emerged from that moment, hot mugs of cider steaming in the cool air. Sorry, dear, but I didn't marry you for your jokes. Ashen faced, his father sat down at the table, a defeated man. Master poked his shoulder. Ken was trying his best to repress his laughter, but giggles escaped him as he watched his father pout. Nami buried her face in his shoulder and cried from laughing so hard. Ken rubbed her back to calm her down. Gammy came out with two large packages in her arms, Aryu right behind her with two more. His mother had a pleased look as she approached and took one of the packages from her best friend. Here, let me give my son his gift. Sure, Aryu grinned and let the Terran woman take the gifts. There was a clink as the contents shifted inside. Gammy approached Ken and Nami first, though with a matching package in each hand. Here, my mentor gave me one of these on my graduation day from her tutelage. I figured it's time I do the same for you as you go off on your ordeal. She handed them each their gift. Ken inclined his head in thanks, as did Nami. Thank you, Gami. Gammy, I need to remember that. The Nami gushed as she ripped open. I said that in Ken's voice. Nami gushed as she ripped the paper off of hers like a child during the giving festival. Ken shook his head at his loves and opened his own. He found himself speechless by the contents. Inside the box there was an oiled leather coat with the same design as Gammy's. It would keep the weather dry. It would keep the weather dry in the rain and offer some protection. Ken heard Nami sniffle as she hugged Gammy, starting to cry again. Oh, thank you, thank you. Ken smiled as he examined his jacket. He saw that the back had straps to attach his sword scabbard to. He gave Gammy a brilliant grin. I love it. Thanks, Gammy. The older woman beamed and patted Nami's hair as they hugged. You're welcome. Wear them with pride. Anyone who sees you in one will know who your teacher is, so be ready for them to ask you to handle things for them. Ken nodded. The trust she was giving to them was worth more than this wonderful gift. It took Nami several moments to regain her composure. When she rejoined him, she had slipped the jacket on. He noticed her jacket also reinforced on the back for her quiver. Gammy winked at Ken. I also had some compartments for blades made into yours, Nami, in case you ever need to toss some knives. And Ken, there's a place in yours to keep something small. I don't know if it'll be useful to you, but Jason suggested it. He rose and clapped arms with Gammy. I'm sure it will be. Thank you, Gammy. I enjoyed learning from you. Gammy pulled him into a hug. And it was a pleasure to teach you. Make me proud. Remember, once you draw your sword, it cannot return to its sheath until I've crossed blades with the enemy, Ken finished. Good lad. You'll be fine, I'm sure. Take care of Nami, and Nami, Gammy looked at the archer. Watch your partner's back. Alone, the two of you have tons of promise and will be great one day. Together, you're a formidable force already. Gammy went and sat down, her part finished. Ken sighed as a rush of nostalgia ran over him. No more hours of training with his master or Gammy before him. The next time he fought, it would likely be for real. Next, Ryu approached Nami with her parcel. Nami took the package and hugged her mother. Ken elbowed her when she seemed unlikely to let go. Come on, open it, he said with a playful grin, the need to know what was inside already nagging at him. Nami puffed up her cheeks as she opened the package. Within there was a quiver of high-quality arrows made from various woods. The fletching of the arrows were a bright red from birds in the region, but one of the arrows had rare blue feathers. Ken could see Nami's breath catch at the sight. They're wonderful, came her emotional reply a few moments later. Master had a pleased expression as he ruffled his daughter's hair. You're welcome. Jason made the fletching and set the arrows. Heath and I made the tips. Jason said the blue feathers are from a bird he saw as a child, a rare occurrence, it seems. The arrow is a good luck charm of sorts. Ken saw father and daughter embrace. Be careful out there, Nami dear, the older smith said. Oh, my baby girl is leaving the nest. Oh, father. Ken watched her smile, tears glistening in her eyes. His parents approached him and offered him the other parcel. Ken noticed as he took it into his hands it was quite heavy. He opened the package and pulled out a shirt made of chain links interlocked together. There was a clink as he picked it up and examined it further. As he did so, two shirts made of very light cotton meant to go with the chain shirt fell into the ground. The make and the color reminded him of his mother's weaving. He looked up at his father as he held up the shirt, and Heath laughed, holding his belly. He couldn't help but grin. His father's laughter was very contagious. He admired the way the man's features all got involved with the laugh, like the way water rippled when you look through a rock. Did you make this? Oh, no, son, the smith said as he calmed down. I didn't make this, nor did Taran. As Heath had been clarifying this, Ken's eyes had been wandering over to examine Nami's older brother. His father continued, We ordered it from a shop in Rootford. When you go there on your trip, you should stop in and say hello to the owner. He made it that for you himself. Ken nodded. I will. It's woven tight. He tapped it with his finger. Gammy walked over and felt the shirt herself. Yes. It's a good make, she confirmed. The Dubs usually forswear metal armor in favor of mobility. But this is the best of both worlds. I hope this piece saves you during many battles, Ken. Ken found himself speechless and a burning warmth in his chest for everyone that was there. For his parents, for the thoughtful gift that, for his parents, for the thoughtful gift that must have cost them much. For Gammy, who was his mentor and friend, and for Nami, whom he could see from the corner of his eye. The smile and affection on her face mirrored the feelings in his own heart. He was unable to stop the happy tears flowing down his cheeks. Aryu hugged him along with his mother, and he could hear Nami's mother speak to him. Never feel ashamed to cry, Ken. Not when it's from happiness or even sadness. I hope you know Alistair and I have always loved you as much as our child, and we wish you to return safely. Ken, so moved in this moment, knew he needed to confess their deepest secret. He opened his mouth to tell them, but stopped as Master shook his head. I know what you're going to say. We have all known. You and Nami want to explore the land and not settle down here to work the forges after your ordeal. Ken heard Nami gasp in shock. But how? Master smirked at her and Ken realized where he had gotten that habit. Before the two of you inherited the spirit of Ford, because the two of you inherited the spirit of four adventurers. We never told you this, but before we settled down here, we were a pretty famous adventuring party. Gammy snorted at this. You mean infamous, don't you, Alistair? Alistair put on a mask of mock shock. Why, whatever do you mean? Don't play innocent. How many times did you four end up in trouble for burning something down? His father protested. Hey now, that only happened once. His mother sighed. Twice, dear, you're forgetting the windmill. Oh, right, he said, his expression turning sheepish. That malformed building, I thought it was a giant monster. 3 times Aryu spoke, her voice almost a whisper. 3 times Aryu spoke, her voice almost a whisper. His parents both looked in shock at the quiet housewife. She blushed and continued, Alistair and I were in a hot spring when a monster attacked. It all ended in flames and angry words in the local dove office. Oh, they said in unison. So it was you two that destroyed our favorite hot spring. Alistair was trying to play innocent, but was slipping into sheepishness. Ken listened to this back and forth, basking in the casual tone in which the news came from a distance. It felt amazing that he had discovered a side of his parents he had never known before. Ken felt the corners of his mouth tug up into a smile. He noticed Heath look at him from the corner of his eye and grinned as well. Soon, Aryu, Sylvia, and Alistair joined them, all smiling. After what felt like a while, though, Taran coughed. Well, we should get the lovebirds. We should let the lovebirds get to bed, he jabbed at his sister and Ken. They have an early morning coming. Ken sighed, but Taran had a point. Sunrise would be here before they knew it, and the road was waiting. He stood up and helped Nami to her feet. He stopped when his father spoke, his voice more serious than he had ever heard before. Hold on. There's one more thing we need to discuss. Alistair paced back and forth, something he did quite often when he was nervous or at a loss for what to say. The swordsmith looked at Ken's father as if asking for help. The mountain of a smith shrugged and scratched his head. He seemed unsure how to help the dark-haired man. Alistair gave a slight glare at Heath before stopping at the table where they sat. I'm sorry, kids, he started. This is difficult to talk about. Your mothers are the only people that we've shared this story with. We haven't even told Ryan yet. Ken looked at Nami and then Taran. Both seemed to grasp the depth of what was to come. Alistair sat down facing the kids and steepled his fingers, elbows on the table. As you already know, Heath and I have shared many things, including a birthday. We share a love of fishing, cold cider, and the heat of a forge. But unlike the two of you, and at this he waved at both Ken and Nami, we weren't always friends. We were not even allowed to speak to one another, let alone play together. Ken felt his breath hitch. He had so many questions, but he couldn't get the words to form. He gulped and waited as his master continued. The Hearthstones and the Forgewoods have been rivals for half a century now. We were never told why. His father laughed as he cut off Alistair. Ha 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 ha! Though it sounded strained. My mother clipped me over the head with the back of her hand one time for asking about it. Alistair shook her head. Yeah, your mum had a mean backhand. Can't count the number of times she and my mum went at each other's throats. Ken could see Nami's aghast expression at the thought. But why would they attack each other? I know, baby girl. It seems so odd given our communal way of life. You are correct about that. It was very unusual for our people to fight with each other, or it is very unusual for our people to fight with each other. But for some reason, our families have always had a grudge against each other. Or maybe one another would be better there. Make a note of that, Stephen. Ken could see the question in Nami's eyes and decided to be the one to ask it. Why are you bringing this up now? The appreciative look Nami gave him almost made up for what came next. They're your grandmothers, so the leaders of our families. You must have their blessing to take the ordeal. Nami's voice sounded panicked as she responded. You don't need the we don't need the ordeal to become adventurers, though. We can still follow our dream, right? Of course not, baby girl. Her father took her into his arms to try and calm her down. The issue is that most of the tribes are big on tradition. They might not hire you if you haven't at least finished the most basic one. Ken could tell Nami wanted to say more, but Aryu stepped in and took her little girl into her arms. That's enough of that for tonight. Ken, Nami, off to bed with the both of you. Just gonna readjust. Ken lay in bed an hour later, looking up at the ceiling. He could hear his younger sisters sleeping in their beds on the other side of the thin divider wall. They were always so noisy in their sleep. He had been thinking he should have gone to sleep early himself. But the secret revealed to Nami and himself had shaken him to his core. As he lay there thinking, the window near him slid open and a dark shadow came through. He rolled his eyes as the only person that would enter that way was Nami, and moved over to let her snuggle in beside him. She had already changed into her night clothes as she slid in next to him. His arms wrapped around her, and her head went to rest on his chest with a contented sigh. Hey, he said, to which he heard a muffled giggle. Your pillow talk needs work. The sweet voice of his love drifted to his ears in the dark. Nah, you know you love it. He cradled her close. How did you sneak out? It's a full moon, Nami responded from her place on his chest. Ken wondered how he forgot that. Their parents always went out every full moon as far back as he could remember. Yeah, I forgot it was already that time of the month. Nami leaned up on her arms. Did you forget, or are you just distracted with what they told us? He bit his lip as he considered it. You're right, I'm distracted. After all, I never expected something like that. As she lay in his bed, Ken could feel Nami clutch to him a little tighter. She sought comfort from the torrent of memories of the conversation. Her voice was hoarse with worry as she asked what was on her mind. They can't stop us from completing the ordeal and becoming adventurers. Can they? Ken sighed as he cradled his love close, and his hand rubbing her back. Our grandmothers are the heads of our families, and as such, we need their permission to do the ordeal. They could be an obstacle, one we are not prepared for. She let out a frustrated groan. I suppose we cannot beat them up until they agree to let us do the ordeal? He chuckled and kissed her forehead. I don't think this obstacle will be one we can solve by force. Nami moved as he was gazing. Nami moved so she was gazing into her deep blue eyes again, a sight he never tired of. One of the boons of their unique eyes was minor illumination in the dark. You're right. I guess we'll have to play it by ear when we get there. He nodded as he got lost in those eyes once more. Yeah, I wish we could find the source of the feud. We could bring it to an end and get the future in-laws in agreement. Nami laughed, a sound he never tired from hearing either. A fine adventure for the two of us, but I doubt we can bring several generations' feud to an end. Regardless of those old ladies think you are mine. Her lips touched his. No matter what, no one is standing in my way. Ken pulled her into the cuddle again. No worries. I won't let anyone stop us from being together either. Now, let's get some sleep. We've got to get an early start tomorrow. As all he got in response was a soft snore. In her sleep, Nami looked even more like an angel than when she was awake. Usually the full moon was a time of passion between the two, but he could not forgive but he could forgive her this time. Tonight had been trying and both needed sleep. He kissed her cheek and then let sleep claim him as well. That's the end of chapter 3. Definitely gonna have to do a re-recording of this one in the future too. I stumbled quite a few times there, not even because of mistakes, just because I tripped over a word or said the wrong name. It's Gammy, not Gami, and it's Terran, not Taran. Or maybe it is Taran and not Terran. I don't actually know. I just liked the name and spelled it. I never actually heard it said before, so I'm doing my best. I apologize. This is my first time making an audiobook and narrating, so as this is an amateur experience of my own story, so I do apologize if it's not professional. And I would like to do something about that, the big light in the background. Let me, since we're here, hold on. Like, is this okay? Like, I mean, I can read like this, but like, is this okay for recording? If someone could let me know in the comments if you would prefer this over what I've been doing previously, I might be able to do something with filters to lighten this up a little bit where I can have that light off in the background. Yeah, in the meantime, that was chapter 3 of book 1, Saga Primigenia by Stephen McKellep. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night. Goodbye.